All right, wanted to go over the Rabbid Raccoon 100 race weekend. I did the two half marathons and the 5K. Um, actually signed up for what they call the foreplay, which is those three races plus the obstacle course race. Um, I did not stick around for the obstacle course race. I guess I'll just get rid of that um, out of the way first. Um, because you had the midnight half marathon and then the obstacle course didn't start till 8 a.m. and I wasn't going to stick around for the 6 hours in between me finishing the half marathon at midnight at 2 a.m. to the 8 o'clock obstacle course start. Um, so I left, and then I saw the weather was supposed to be a little bit spotty with rain and stuff in the forecast, so I just said to hell with it. Plus, I was a little um, mentally tired, I guess, in general, not physically tired, but just mentally. So that's why I didn't stick around and do all four races that I actually signed up for this weekend and just stuck with the three. Um, Very happy with the three races that I did. I performed way better than I was expecting. Um, One win and then two second places. If you would have told me that going into the weekend, I definitely would have taken that, and I would have been very shocked um, if you would have told me that going into the week. Um, as you heard, if you watch my strategy, I was really only shooting for like a top three um, in either race, and if possible, a win, but I wasn't really expecting it. There was a ton of people signed up. Um, I know for the half marathon in the morning, pull it up on my phone real quick, see if I can't find it. I believe there was 477 people. Um, or no, wait. For the morning half, I got it here on my phone. Because they had a paper there, a registration for that morning half marathon, 425 people. Um, the midnight half had 177. The 100 mile had 171. 5K had 103. 100-mile relay 94. The obstacle challenge was 56. And there was 189 pacers throughout the weekend. Of course, obviously, that would have been for the 100 mile and the 100K because the halves and stuff didn't have pacers. Now that would have gave them 1,403 total registrations for the weekend. Again, it's on my well, you can't see it with the glare on the phone. Uh, so pretty good numbers, solid numbers. I don't really know how many actually showed up. I mean, I could probably do the math as I'm trying to look at the results now, but I would say there was probably 1,200 people total, with people not showing up, uh, or like me, not doing the obstacle course race. So that takes, because the looks of it, I think they counted each race as a participant. So me, I sign up for four, so I get counted four times in that number. I think that's how they did that instead of independent, because why would you do it independently? That'd be really hard to figure out. Um, so anyway, uh, worked Friday from 5 to 11, came home, took a couple hour nap, went down, actually, I didn't even get my things ready till, what was it, like, 5 o'clock? Wait, what? I don't know, maybe like 3 o'clock. I think I started getting my stuff ready and headed down, because the 5K started at, wait, no, it started at 6:30. So maybe I started at 2. Yeah, I think I woke up from my nap at 2 and then got ready and headed down at 3. I think that's how I did it. Yeah, because I got there like an hour, hour and a half before the 5K started. It's about a 2 hour drive for me down there. Took the turnpikes all the time, all four times. So I'm gonna hit with like $30 worth of toll PA turnpike fees this week or whenever they decide to bill me. Anyway, it was a pretty nice day Friday for driving, so I can't complain. It was like 75 degrees. Um, so I was looking forward to running the 5K. Um, in warm temperatures because it would have been the first 5K I've done in warm temperature since September, October. So very happy with that. Um, Obviously, I won the 5K, I think by like a minute and a half. Um, Not sure what the exact time was. My watch had about 20 minutes, give or take a few seconds, but when they actually did have the results up online, it was like 18 and a half. And I didn't really feel like that was necessarily correct. I think like a minute should have been added on to that, so like a 1940-ish to 20 minutes would have been what I think my time was, not the 18:30. Even though my effort was like an 18:30 5K, I just don't think I actually did that. But second place was like 21, 22 minutes, uh, whatever the case may be, behind me. But he was definitely like a minute, minute and a half behind me when I finished. Um, So I did have a comfortable lead. So either whatever the time was, I'm going to say it was closer to 20. Um, when they get them up, maybe I'll update this. But either way, wasn't sure what that course was going to be like because they changed it this year. Last year they had like 800 feet of gain in the 5K, which is ridiculously large amount. This year was only like 180, I think is what it was. I'd have to look it up again. But then I was told it was more flat and more road, and was told to wear road shoes, um, which I guess would have made sense because it was mostly like gravel, like rail trail, and then some dirt trail. So road shoes did work, and that's actually what I wore was some older Saucony Cohesions, like the road versions, and they seemed to do pretty well in that dirt gravel. Carbon shoes would have been tore up in that gravel dirt area, but um, I took off from the start. A couple people ahead of me, passed them within a couple tenths, and then I just slowly took off from there. It was a little surprising, the one hill. I want to say it was like point 0.8, point 0.9 miles into the race. Um, wasn't expecting that big of an incline because I was told it was more flat, um, not to worry about like hills or whatever. But I guess compared to last year, I had probably 30 seconds of the turn. Um, and then it was more of downhill for the next half mile. So I just turned it on and tried to gap so then I could relax because I did start to get a little sick um, towards the end just because I was exerting so much energy that I haven't for a while. And again, more detail, like each race, there'd be more details actually in my individual race recap, but um, took it home. I was very happy with that. Stuck around till little like 7:30-ish because they actually did announcements for the 100K and 100 miler, like a pre-race briefing a little earlier than they were supposed to. They were going to do it at 8, but they moved it up a little bit because obviously if the 100K, 100 miler starts at 4 a.m., um, you don't want to be doing announcements at 8 p.m. because it leaves less than 8 hours for people to get sleep. So, um, yeah. So they did move it up a little bit. No, I don't know how much that really helped or how many people actually stuck around that were doing the 100 miler. I think it was more so the 100Ks that started a couple hours later. Um, so I do look for them to uh, step up that race briefing a little bit earlier next year or start the race a little bit later because it was a 4 a.m. start, which is still a little, well, I want to say a little way earlier than most 100 milers. Most 100 milers, like in PA, start at 5 or 6. So, um, four's a little early, but with it being March, trying to get as much daylight in, I guess, as possible. Um, anyway, went to the hotel, got some Wendy's on the way. Actually got a good solid 6 hours sleep, which is unusual for me, especially when I'm traveling. Um, uh, so Saturday, woke up, felt pretty good. I took my beet powder, some baking soda, my normal vitamins, uh, peanut butter and jelly sandwich and stuff like that. Um, crackers and a new go bar. Trying to stay hydrated. Again, with like over 400 people signed up for the half, I wasn't really expecting much. But I was told Friday night after the 5K that they were going to do top 10 male and female, and then in the night it was going to be top 5 male and female. So I was like, ah, shit. Going in on what I figured they were just going to do top 3. And then when I heard maybe top 5, I was like, whatever. We'll just see how the field plays out. Um, and I was actually going to shoot for more the midnight half and try to turn and burn during that race than try in the morning. I was going to, how to say this, learn the course in the morning so I could use it to my advantage in the evening. Because once I know the course and know what to expect and where to turn it on, where to, pull back, and stuff like that, I'm able to run a lot more faster as with any person, who runs knows that as well. You know the course, you know what to do. That's why a lot of the elites go on those like big long 100-mile courses and do some training runs on it so they actually get eyeballs on the course. Um, so that was sort of my plan until I heard it was top 10 overall for the morning half. I was like, well, I was pretty confident that I could at least try for a top 10, and get a top 10 like with my ability. So I did that. So as we started, the dude who won both halves took off. I was like, I'm not even trying to chase him. I was like, I don't know who he is, what his ability is. So we'll just see how that plays out. Just let him go, let him do his thing. And then I stayed with this pack for a couple of tents. It was like 9 of us, because we did this like quick loop out around, um, in front of the building, I guess, or to the side before we actually hit, the trails and then the main course. Um, by the time we got back around the building, it was, I don't know, maybe 7 tenths or so. I moved up to 7th, but I was in this pack just trying to fill them out, watch them a little bit, see, uh, what their abilities were, because I'm pretty good at, figuring out who can do what, in a short amount of time. And I just slowly moved up, moved up, moved up. Um, and there was like 3 of us together, um, for a couple miles. And then, around the dam or something, I took off and got ahead of them. And then I was in second the rest of the race. They were close behind for most of it. Um, and I saw them a few times behind me, which did get me worrying a little bit, but whatever, not knowing the course. Um, I was still running at edge, when to push, when not to push. Somehow I maintained that. Um, and I think around, what was I forget what mile, we'll call it like 10, 10 and a half or so. When we get to this one of the big climbs after the creek crossing. It's the second big climb after the creek crossing. I was power walking up it. I saw my buddy. Um, and then there's like a road, quick little like asphalt road that you pave before you go to some more like switchbacks. Um, I happened to look back and I saw the dude in the neon yellow safety shirt color. I was like, oh shit, gotta go. So then I took off from there and tried to do my thing just to maintain that lead, just in case something happened. Definitely didn't take enough water for the morning half. I only took 2 9s, um, and I was definitely conserving that. Uh, yeah, lightly, to put it lightly. I wish I had 2 20s on me, but I didn't. Um, but that's a quick recap of the morning. But soon as, like I said, soon as I got in the second place, I never relinquished that. Um, the only time I really had trouble with the course was learning how to get to from the aid station to the creek crossing. It wasn't very clear, um, how to get there because there was like cars in the way, like blocking the signs, and there wasn't really too much arrows or tape, um, pointing in the right direction. Even though I did see the blue, flagging that they put down for people who didn't want to cross the creek. Um, Stuck around for the race for about a half an hour or so. Um, had to poop right after. It's like as soon as I finished and drank a Fit Aid, I could just feel my stomach gargling. Everything just started settling. I wanted to come out. So pooped and then went home. Uh, then I came home. The reason why, even you'd be like, oh, why'd you drive 2 hours, each way again? Just because I actually wanted to rest um, and shower properly at my house. I figured that'd be a smarter move than being one of those people that hang out for, 12 hours, 14 hours, um, and just get more tired. So that's what I did. I came home, drove the, hour 45, 2 hours home, um, took a nice shower, slept for like 4 hours, got my stuff ready for the night ops, um, and then headed down, let me see, around 7:30. Yeah. I changed out my gear. I was looking at the weather. I took both, obviously, my hydration pack and my waist belt down, because weather kept changing. Every time I'd look at it, kept pushing back, then it'd come forward. So with the rain, I was like, just prepared for both. So I just took both, and that wasn't my plan, but I did it anyhow. And I did take stuff for the obstacle course with me, but that was still afterthought. Well, at least I thought I took stuff with me for the obstacle course. Actually, when I got home Sunday, I saw clothes on the top of the dryer that actually had put aside. So actually didn't have another pair of clothes, and I didn't know that at the time. So glad I didn't stay. Anyway, I wear my vest instead of my belt, um, which I said in my other video was a mistake. Um, but I did have 220s on me, so I did have enough hydration, even though I didn't need it as much in the evening because it wasn't that hot. It was another 60, 70 degree morning. I think it was like 60 degrees when we started the half in the morning, but it was like 50 in the evening. Um, so it was pretty good running temperatures. The course was a little bit more beat up. The guy who won the morning won the evening, and he took off again. And there was really only one other guy that ran with me in the midnight half. Um, the rest of the field just um, was farther back, so I didn't really have too much pressure put on me in the midnight um, because it was just, yeah, first took off. He was out of sight after like a mile well, before the aid station. We'll say about a half mile before the aid station, his headlamp was gone. Um, and then it was just me and the guy who finished third. I would say to like mile seven. I know I didn't see him come in to the mile nine aid station, or even when I crossed the creek, I looked back and there was no headlamps at all, even over that way. So had a couple minutes there. The night was more fun, and I seen the run a little bit smoother, obviously because I knew the course, I knew what was coming, and how to tackle it. It was definitely a lot more wet and muddier. Well, it rained off and on all day, so and then with all the foot traffic from the people doing the loops, definitely got beat up a little bit, but not too bad. Not too bad till after that creek crossing. Let me see. Yeah, I know in the morning I was passing people left and right because the 100K and the 100 miler people were all out on the course and nobody was dropping yet that early, like 3, 4 hours in. Um, so there was a couple hundred people on the course itself. I saw all my friends in the morning, passing them as they were just pacing themselves for the day. Saw a bunch in the evening as well, but there was definitely people were definitely a lot more scarce in the evening. All the people who already finished or dropped um, weren't on the course anymore, where they were just resting inside the building. So there wasn't as much. But it seemed like every time that you would not see a light in front of you, you would come upon another one. So there really wasn't any point in time where, I mean, I guess maybe once or twice when I didn't see any lights in front of me, but that was so far and few in between because at night with no leaf cover and stuff like that, you could see headlamps pretty good in the distance. So always had like somebody, I don't want to say somebody in the view because you could have seen a headlamp and they still would have been a good half mile in front of you, or even like behind you, even if you looked back. I did a few times to see where that guy was in third. Um, so you really weren't running alone, but you were. Um, and again, I was running my own race, where there was only one person really chasing me at the time. Um, so basically, everybody I saw was 100K or 100 miler, so was running my own race. But I did enjoy it. It just seemed more freeing, and I didn't have the pressure on me as I did in the morning. In the morning, I set a pace pro for I think it was 1 hour and 41 minutes, so I was just above that. Um, and in the evening, I set it for 2 hours. So in the morning, yeah, I was uh, my clock time. We'll go off my the chip time 1:41:14. Um, and my pace pro for that was 140 or 141, so I was right on that. And in the evening, I set a pace pro for 2 hours, and I was 152:19, so 8 minutes under. I knew in the evening I was going to run slower. I figured my legs weren't going to be as fresh. Um, you're just going to run slower in general running at night. And with the conditions that I knew were going to deteriorate, um, I just knew I was going to run slower and be more cautious. Um, so that's why I set it for 2 hours. Because looking at the times from last year, 2 hours would have won last year. It would have won. I would have won both halves this year if the guy from Colorado didn't come in. I told him, it was like, it's not fair that you get to trade in all that elevation. And here I'm stuck at like 2,000 feet. Um, so I had a shot all weekend to win all three. But I'm happy with the 2 seconds in the first. Um, but anyway, getting back to the evening, uh, it was a little slick um, on the downhills. Um, that was where I was really cautious. Obviously, I'm usually cautious on downhills in general, but I stayed more cautious because the way it was wet and the worn, every time you like run downhill, you could feel your feet like slip into the sides. So what I did is I ran on the edge in the leaves to make sure I had a good footing. Um, Somehow I didn't fall all weekend, which was awesome. Um, I had sure footing, and I contributed that to wearing the Saucony Cohesion TRs. They're like a hybrid road slash trail shoe. Um, I know people are gonna be like, "Oh, that's a low end model." Well, I'll tell you what, I prefer them over the Peregrines, um, and some of the other Saucony trail shoes because, like I said, these aren't too aggressive and they're not like flat road shoes. They're like an in between. So it's just like a perfect, it is to me a perfect hybrid, and they're light. So I can definitely fly and grip on rocks. Whereas like my Peregrines, those lugs and stuff, um, they cause me to trip a lot more than I would like to admit. And you don't stick on rocks and stuff like that. So, um, yeah, so that's why I went with that. But again, the downhills were definitely slick. The uphills after the creek crossing were wet and muddy, from the water flowing down the hillside, but I didn't mind that running uphill in the slop. It was just the downhill. Because, if you fall uphill, you're not really going to get hurt as much per se as if you running downhill. You can go really sliding forward and really hurt yourself and, might not be able to control yourself as much. Whereas if you're running uphill and you fall, you're just basically falling like flat on your face. Whereas downhill, you're flying in some kind of direction and twisting ankles, hitting body parts off trees and limbs. So, uh, yeah, definitely took it easier on the uphills. I wore a waist belt and a headlamp for the evening. Um, my headlamp did go out, or not my headlamp, my waist belt went out about 10 and a half on one of the flatter sections. So luckily I had a backup, so I just wrapped it around my wrist and used that. That seemed to really help as well, having the two lights, uh, being able to read the course. It really having the waist belt and headlamp really allowed me to basically see what I saw in the daylight. So I didn't have no shadows. I could see all the rocks, the roots, um, before I would even step on them, and give me that trail vision that you have during the daylight hours. Um, so that was a plus. Uh, I encouraged my friends out on the course that I saw when I passed them. Um, and again, I was just flying, having a good time, relaxed. A 9 minute pace would have gave me that 2 hours. Um, and I was like at 8:34, 8:35, um, which is not even a fast like training pace for me. So I was definitely relaxed and more comfortable in the evening, um, which was awesome. Uh, Trying to think what else. I don't know. I just overall didn't know what to expect coming in. Um, I really did enjoy the event. Um, I do like how they had the big building to use, to shower, to change, go to the bathroom for crews and stuff like that. Um, and then it was a looped course, what, 5 laps for the 100K, 8 for the 100 miler, or was it 6 for the 100K? Either way, whatever, the 100 miler was 8, so I don't want to do the math. Um, but it's just nice. I mean, they did have one aid station. It was like, what, 2.5, 3 miles into the course, but you do pass that twice to like the 2.5, 3 miles in, and then about 9. Um, so you got the longest stretch you got, what's like 5, 6 miles in between aid stations, which is nothing for an ultra. Um, so they're spaced out. There was also a water drop somewhere in between. I didn't use it, but I do remember seeing it both times. The course itself is not hard. Uh, for PA standards. Very runnable. So it is a good beginner course for people who want to do like 100K or 100 mile, or even if you want to test yourself and do the two halves. It's definitely a good beginner course. Um, Except for that the last 4 miles is the hardest part of the whole course. But even then, it's not really technical. So I like it because you could really fly during the course, but also don't under judge it and say it's too easy as well, because it's like most of us got 1,700 feet of gain per lap. Some of us got 19, some of us got 16, but I think both of mine were like 17. Um, so it does have some elevation for a half. Um, and I wasn't sure, like it wasn't, they basically used the yellow, if you see in the background, see which way do I gotta go? The yellow things in the back, the triangles, they have those on trees throughout the course because they're permanent markings on the trees. And then there's red dots that you follow during the whole race. And then they had caution tape uh, and some of the trails that you like weren't supposed to go down, and then wrong signs that say wrong way. Um, so it's kind of hard to get lost, at least during the day. At night, it was a little bit, I don't even say it was harder because the trail was worn at that time, and they did have some reflective tape on those yellow triangles, so you could see them with your headlamp. You could see them up ahead. Flick your head up a little bit. Um, so that was the one thing I was kind of worried about uh, from the morning race, um, was how you're going to be able to see where you're supposed to turn during the nighttime. But again, with that course being worn, and it's not like it's a normal route that people run. So the trail is worn and you can read it pretty good. And then just flicking up your head a little bit and seeing the reflectiveness on the um, yellow signs, you really didn't have to second guess yourself at all. At least I didn't, even running fast. Um, so people really shouldn't have had problems, even if especially if you're going like, say, like 15-minute pace, like if you're in a 100 mile or 100K, and trying to remember where you're supposed to go, even tired, you really shouldn't have had a problem seeing or reading the course. So I was definitely happy about that because this is the first time I've done a Wolf Creek night race, so I didn't really know what to expect. But I was definitely pleasantly pleased that I was able to see the course, whether it be from the yellow triangles, how the course was worn already from the other people, um, and then the caution tape telling me not to go down to the left or the right, or um, those wrong turn signs. And they even had a couple signs on some of the descents. It says caution steep descents, so you knew it was coming, so you're not like flying and then all of a sudden it just like drops you down. Especially on tired legs, you're not paying attention where you're at. So that was pretty good. I did like that. Overall, I'd say it was a good event. Um, Happy I went and did what they call it, trashy triple. Yeah. Either way, whatever. I think next year I might go back and do the 100K just for something to do and I earn a buckle. I haven't earned a buckle in a while. Um, but it's 5 laps. And, I'm not a big mentally laps kick my ass. Um, but we'll see. But I think I'm pretty sure I'm going to do the 100K, not the 100 miler. Um, but I at least want to go back and try the course again because they're moving it to May, end of May. So it's going to be a lot warmer, um, which is going to play a huge factor. And that was one of the factors why I just did the two halves and the 5K this year, or the foreplay. That's why I signed up for the foreplay because um, being second week of March, I didn't know what the conditions were going to be, like the roads and stuff. Because one year it was really cold, like negative. It was probably 0 degrees 2 years ago, and they had it somewhere else. Um, and I wasn't going to drive down there if the roads were bad or if the conditions were all horrible, like a foot of snow or anything, or super cold. Um, I didn't want to get hurt. That's why I did the halves because I figured I could at least make one of them because they would clean the roads up or something like that. Um, so next year, I'd like to do the 100 K, I think, or not. At least go back and do the two halves again. I do like um, the morning and then the midnight start, even though it does sort of wear on you a little bit, like tiredness wise. But I think honestly, if I did the 100K, I could knock it out before dark. Well, I'd at least be done before midnight on that course. We'll figure at the worst, uh, 2.5 hours per lap at worst. So times five, it's like 14 hours. So I would be done by like 8, 9 o'clock at night at my worst. Um, but I would say for 2 hours per lap average would be what I would shoot for. Um, so I think I could do it before dark. Either way, whatever. It's a nice course. Again, it's marked all year long. If people want to go and practice on it and see it beforehand, there's GPX files out the butt. Um, if people need one, um, I think that's about it. My legs felt good all three races. It held up for not having raced a half marathon or more since second week of October, which was the Lower Highlands Fall Classic 50K, 10:19. Not having ran a race of a half or more since then, and then running two halves in one day. I think it's very well. I'm very excited how my body held up, how I felt, how I feel now. Those 20-mile days that I've been doing the last couple weeks, or the last couple months, um, and then biking really seemed to pay off. I just got to get some more trail work in for other things coming up. So anyway, check it out. Any questions, let me know. But yeah, I actually enjoyed this event. I enjoyed all three races that I participated in, and I enjoyed seeing all my friends out there crushing it in the 100K and the 100 miler, and then the relays and people doing the halves and 5K. Um, I would have liked to have gotten my eyes on the obstacle course race to see how that was, or talk to some people about that. So I might do that the next couple of days. Um, but other than that, I guess that's about it.